My daddy's name is Robert, and he's been diagnosed with dementia. Yes, I'm 40 years old, and I still and will always say mommy and daddy. It's just my thing. It always has been. That will never change. Welcome. This is my new channel, my place where I like to have as an outlet for me, our family situation, our family dynamics, our family everything has changed over the last few years, especially here in the last week or two. And I wanted a way to get it out, um, and not hold on to it as I have been for the past few years. So personally, personally and selfishly, this is my space and way of making it through. And in turn, I also hope this is a safe, honest, open, quiet place for many, few, a couple of people who may be going through or have been through something very similar. I know there's a silent community out there when it comes to dementia and Alzheimer's. I feel like a lot of people suffer from it, go through it, serve as caretakers, have been affected by it, whether they had a true diagnosis or not. Sometimes doctors just don't really know what it is and don't diagnose early, but it, that's what it may be or have been. And I feel like people may feel lost and just kind of on their own. Yes, there are resources, don't get me wrong, but there are not a lot. It's not like we talk about it all the time, um, not until it touches you. And it's something that is slow and progressive and very unpredictable. It affects people different. It affects people differently. Um, so you just never really know. And I've learned um, going through my first bodybuilding competition and working out in the gym and going through work. One of my good friends says, you control the controllables, right? This is not something you can control at all. Again, you can't even predict it. So it's not easy. As you can see, this is going to be a raw, real uh, video channel. I want to show you my life and share it with you and document the weeks as they go by and laugh and giggle at some cool memories and things that we used to do and even things that we do now. We still have good times. And as another YouTuber posted yesterday, and some of you have seen or heard of this, but there are emotions that can exist at the same time. There are feelings that can exist at the same time. You can grieve and be sad and, you know, thinking about what could have been, while also enjoying the times you have and making new memories and smiling and laughing. And that's exactly where I am, exactly where my family is. Um, it's something different for us. So, my name is Virginia Bailey. I am very glad to have some of you here, some I know. I'm glad to meet the rest of you. And like I mentioned, this is my life. This is real. It's going to be pretty raw, uncut, maybe a few minor edits so you can see my family, some photos and things like that. So I'll share those with you. But I'm not the flashy extra type. I might put a little makeup on so I look halfway decent on camera, but this is it. And I aim to keep it that way. So I will come to you week to week, share what went on, what we've been going through, to share my thoughts. Some weeks I may get up here and be really sad. Some weeks I may smile and have something funny for you. And other weeks I might just take a moment and sit. I I'm excited to get this started, um, and excited to share a little bit about us. So I'm a wife of almost 14 years. I have two daughters, age 13 and 11. So those three right there, those are my four walls. That's my priority. Um, I work every day and do what we do for them. So it's been a joy. Life is amazing. We are truly blessed. And on the other end of that, so that's my immediate family, right? But I also have my mom, dad, sister, mom and dad in Clayton, North Carolina. That's where I grew up. They have been there since 1988 and been in North Carolina forever. They were born and raised there in Goldsboro, and they lived in Garner for a little bit. So that's where I was born. Well, I was born in Durham, North Carolina, but lived in Garner for a few years. For a few years until my sister came around in 1988. So my dad, Robert and Sherry, husband Jerry, daughters Adeline and Kaylin, and my sister, my bestie Samantha, who has a husband, Samuel, and my little niece, Riley. So um, I'll share a couple photos so you can see us and to see the amazing people that they are. And that's my support. That's my everything. Um, yes, said. So from North Carolina, shout out, go Tar Heels. I'm actually a Tar Heel, graduated from UNC Chapel Hill for undergrad, went to University of Buffalo for grad school, and met my husband in Buffalo. He's from Buffalo, New York. So both those places are very special to me, always will be. And yeah, so, and I do, when I'm looking to the side, I do have a few notes here so I wouldn't get sidetracked. I don't have like screens and all that stuff back here. I'm just honestly, as you can see, sitting in my daughter's room because I feel like it's pretty and it works. So until if and when I get a true like YouTube area, this is it. You may find me outside. That's my special place. I love sitting on the porch. I might do a video from my car. This is it'll be what it is. I'm a military officer of it'll be 15 years this summer, and that has also been a journey. We have lived in a few states. My daughters have lived in more places than I have because again, I grew up in North Carolina. We didn't move. So this is a whole different life from my childhood and pros and cons to both, right? But it's amazing to offer and be able to provide the girls with this type of experience. And currently, we're in Louisville, Kentucky, doing well. School's great, activities are good, and hopefully, we'll be here for a little while. So, now, I guess I'll reintroduce myself as Dementia Daughter. I created this so that I could share from the eyes of me. So my eyes, my perspective. This isn't the thoughts, feelings of my mom, my sister, my dad, my husband, my kids. This is me. This is how I see things. By no means, I'm not an expert in dementia. I'm not the researcher. That's not what I bring to this. Not what I have. I don't bring that to any table. Those resources are out there. So if you want to look deeper into it and learn about the actual disease and how it works and how it's diagnosed and all, for sure check out those resources. But I am bringing this from my eyes, how I see things moving, how I felt when certain things have happened, and that's my perspective and where it'll come from. So with me, you'll usually get this, like maybe a little makeup, a hoodie. This is my comfy life, so I'm gonna always be comfortable. That's priority. We run around like chickens with activities and work and school. So most time when I come up here, this is it. If you see me dressed up, then get
So, I'd
excited.
like to
So
talk a little bit about our
um,
childhood. And like I said, we grew up in Clayton, North Carolina. My mom's a nurse. My dad was a stormwater engineer. So, for the city of Raleigh, mom worked for Wake Med. So, I remember in the beginning, like she used to work some longer shifts, like overnight shifts. And, she would come home, we would be getting ready for school, and then she'd go to sleep. And then we'd come home and she'd get up and help us with homework and that type of stuff. Daddy had pretty much your typical, like, I'll say 9 to 5. He had a work truck, and sometimes I don't know if we were supposed to ride in it. I don't think so, but we did get to ride in it every now and then, like probably twice. But I just thought it was cool. My daddy had a work truck, but grew up with them being together. Married the whole time. They were married 4 years before I was born, and they actually got married on Christmas Day. So Christmas Day is not only like, ooh, it's Christmas time, but it's also my parents' anniversary, which I think is really awesome. It's really cool. My mama loves winter and she loves Christmas. So, well, I don't say she loves winter. She loves Christmas though. So, we'll go with it. But growing up, my sister and I were in different activities. My sister played soccer. She was in band. I played volleyball. We were terrible. And I was also in band. We never went to school together. So grade wise, we're 4 years apart. We're 3.5 years from age, but we were never at the same school, which actually kind of I think we would have been pretty cool. But hey, that's the card we were dealt. So we were never at school together. And so, of course, you can imagine, different schools, different activities, different things going on, and having to keep up with it, which I can really relate to now because we do a lot. So, with all we had going on, and mom being a nurse and daddy having his job, I don't think they ever missed an event. It They were always at my volleyball games. They were always at Kaylin. I mean, that's Kaylin. That's my daughter. They were always at Sam's soccer. She did track for a while. Never missed a band competition. They were always there, and so we were pretty close knit in that aspect. And I don't think we ever had to worry about too much of anything except getting good grades. That was non-negotiable. School was our job. And I did actually start working when I was in high school. My first job was at a skating rink. So, yeah, I guess we worked a little bit, but I'll say not because we had to. Because I wanted a job, wanted my little extra, money to get my nails done or whatever. But blessed to have a smooth childhood that, we can look back on and replicate some of it, change some of it, do things in this day and age with our kids, some of the traditions and all that we get to reinvent and make them our own, and other things we totally do differently, different time, different people, different ways of life. But I said my parents did well, and very proud of both of them. And I'm glad to be still a best girl. I'm Bailey, but best girl forever. Um, we look back to even like school. Mom and dad, I won't say that they made even college an option. Growing up, it was bring home the A's. Oh, is this about to be a B type progress report? I was scared to bring a B home in the house. Oh, no way in the world. So I feel like I probably had to work a little harder than others to keep those A's and make principals list and um, work to be near the top of the class and all this type of stuff. And yes, it worked. It did well. Um, but yeah, it wasn't like, are you going to trade school? Are you going to learn something that you can go straight into the workforce after high school? That was an option. No. Always knew I wanted to go to Carolina. My daddy, diehard Carolina fan, and he didn't go to Carolina himself, but you would think he did. And since he was so into Carolina, so was I. There was a year I remember, 1990 something, of course, somewhere in there. Duh. But because that was when I was young. Um, Carolina was up for the championship game, national championship, March Madness championship, and they lost, or it was one of the big games. Maybe it was Final Four. I don't know, but they lost, and I cried. I cried like I knew those people, and they had some type of effect on my life. It was terrible, and that's still in here somewhere. So Carolina girl came from my daddy. Only school I applied to. If I didn't get in, I don't know what I was about to do because I didn't want to go anywhere else. That's how deep it was. So any of this like Duke, NC State type stuff, you can leave that for another place. Go Heels. But there was always a goal. We were always working towards something, and I think that's where I get it from now. There always has to be something that's next. Uh, Now in my adult life, I have to intentionally sit in the moment and make myself slow down and stop and not got to go to the next thing. And I think that's where it comes from. Which good, bad, or ugly? That's me. My daddy growing up, things that stick out, like he would always lock the doors at night. He would go around the house. I had two doors, front door, back door, and that's where my parents still are. But I wouldn't, I don't think I ever worried about like, oh my gosh, are the doors unlocked? Is somebody going to just walk in here? I knew Daddy locked the door, right? It's that security protection feeling that he provided. Whether he really locked the door every night, I don't know. But to me, he did, and that's all that mattered. And he would take out the trash, and on Saturdays, he would like sweep the kitchen and put all the chairs, like the chairs up on the countertop so he could mop. And um, I remember certain things, like even the smell of the floors, like when he mopped those weekends. And when I would come home, like um, from undergrad and visit, and I was headed back out, he'd be like, "Hey, you about to leave?" Like, "Yeah, probably in a few minutes." And he'd just go, right? He'd come back. So he had washed my car, filled my gas tank, shot my tires. I was ready. They, Daddy took care of his baby girls. So I like to think about that type of stuff. And even now, it's like, there's no way in the world he could do that now. But those are memories that still make me smile, still appreciate them, always will. And that effort, that love in the way that he showed it, truly appreciated. And it made an impact. Oh yeah, and he ironed our clothes at night. Like, hey girls, where are your clothes? You got your clothes ready? And he would iron them. Like, I think I might have been the only girl at school with like crisp jeans. Like, they probably had a crease. Yes, my daddy ironed my clothes. He ironed everybody's clothes. Sure, he ironed Mama Scrubs and Sam's clothes and his clothes, and he would hang them on the door upstairs, the door to the upstairs, and that's where they would be, and we would get them in the morning. So that's how we grew up. Um, so with that, like, I remember right a couple few years ago, somewhere in along this journey, there was a time where I literally had to argue a bit with Daddy, like to not take my luggage to my car. And he was like, "I'm a man, I can do it." Boo boo, you might fall down the stairs. We That's not gonna work. So just the stages, right, of this have affected him in a way that I'll say he had to get used to. 'Cause he wants to do certain things. He wanted to be able to wash the car and go take it, fill up gas. He wanted to put my suitcase in, and I mean, like now, like when his 37-year-old daughter coming home and then heading out back to wherever, he wanted to make sure my car was good and that my stuff was loaded up before I was even ready to go. But he couldn't. He physically couldn't, no matter how hard he might have wanted to. So now, as of last week, my dad lives in a memory care community in Raleigh. And we went last week to move him in, make sure things were okay. My sister and I, we were like, "Hey, are we going?" My sister's like, "Yeah, I'm definitely going." And I, worked out some stuff. And honestly, I didn't have to work out things. Jerry handles things and is amazing. So if I do want or need to go somewhere, I don't have to worry about what's going on here at home. I can take care of whatever I went to go take care of without stressing and checking in and all that type stuff, which I'm very thankful for. So thank you. Um, and I asked him, I was like, "Oh, should I go next week? Is it okay if I go next week?" And Jerry's like, "What are you asking me for? You know where you want to be, right? Like, why are we even having this conversation? I'll make it happen." So that's a blessing. Um, it doesn't have to be that way, and I mean that means a lot to me. So my sister and I we met up in Raleigh at the airport. We had a rental, went home, started packing stuff up and helping mama. I will say that I'm not sure how she would have done it if we weren't there. Not that she couldn't, but just the nuances of it all, right? Packing stuff up, getting there, unpacking, taking things up to his room. My sister and I actually, so we got there on a Tuesday. His move in day was Wednesday. On Tuesday, we went and visited this place. Mama had seen it, but we hadn't had eyes on it. And while I'm sure she did just fine, we had to make sure that place was all right for my daddy. And I tell you what, if something pops up and we need to pop up, we will. So we went and met the staff and saw his room and made sure we knew what we needed to bring and where to put it and all of that type stuff. I Huge change. We moved him in on Wednesday. He did really well. He would ask a question like, "Are y'all leaving?" Or "Have I been here before?" Um, so few moments were harder than others, but in general, it went very smoothly, probably better than I expected. And while it's hard, it lifted a stress, it lifted a weight, some anxiety off of me, and I'm sure my mom, my sister as well, to know that he's in a place that can take care of him if something happens. Some places that'll check on him, um, they'll keep him going, and they have activities and different kind of foods and all this type of stuff, right? Mama has been his caregiver for the past few years. He had to retire early because of this. He had to stop driving. This was years ago, probably like 7, 8 years ago. And like in the beginning, right? So this has been a thing for a while. And in turn, sooner or later, Mama had to make the decision to retire early herself because she needed to be there to take care of him. So he couldn't be at home by himself. Had to make sure, he didn't turn on the stove and leave it on. And as time goes on, those things you worry about, that list increased. So she had to be there. Somebody had to be there. And as caretaker, that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, she's a nurse, but she is also a wife and a wife first. And while not easy, because remember I said they have been together for a long, long time and have really not ever been apart. So while something might be needed and necessary, it may not be what you want or what is the easiest. And this is one of those times. So I will want to say that, Mama, I'm very proud of you. You are amazing. One of the strongest woman I know that I have close in my life. And if I can be half of the woman you are to daddy, to my husband, and my friends, and my family, everything will be all right. Um, we know this isn't easy, but you're not alone. Never will be. And there are good times coming. There are hard times coming. But to know that we are all here together and going through it together in our own way, um, we are together all the same. And daddy too. He is still, for those that do know my dad, he is still in his right mind. I mean, he forget things, but he is still Robert Best. He will joke and laugh and pick on you and say crazy things. So the Robert is still around. He doesn't talk as much as he used to. I don't know if he has the energy to, but he's still there. He knows who we are. Um, he may get some things confused. Like we have a boxer, Theo, and he has asked, "Oh, is Theo Jenny's or Sam's dog?" So sometimes he'll just need those reminders. So cherishing this time. He is still here. He is still with us. Different, but with us. And we're going to continue enjoying these times through all the change, and supporting each other and taking this journey together. So this is the best family. This is our story. I am so looking forward to the weeks to come, sharing things with you, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. This is what it is, right? So until next week, I want you to love, hug, and make lots of amazing memories.